Welcome everyone to this presentation, recognizing the value of continuing professional development with an industry example on the Certified SQF Practitioner Program. I'm Mike Richmond, your host for Exemplar Global's online expo, focused on the current state of the conformity assessment industry. This session is presented by Wendy Edwards, and Wendy is Exemplar Global's Director of Product and Quality Assurance. Wendy has a high level of expertise in quality, auditing, and food safety. In this session, Wendy will provide some insight into the CPD process. So Wendy, thanks for joining us here on the Expo.
Hey, thanks, Mike, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This session will be a little bit different to what else you've seen in this expo. The reason being, Mike and I got talking about the current state of conformity assessment, and we were talking about, the constant rate of change and like, how do you keep up with that? How do you communicate it as an individual working on your own? Where do you find time to do all this learning? And we thought, it might actually be useful just to talk through an example of what we consider to be, closer to best practice, which is something that's recently come out from the Safe Quality Food Institute. So there's a certified practitioner certification that they've developed recently. And one of the things that makes this, to me, quite different to some other things I've seen is that there's actually a formal plan that is available for individuals when they start to assess where their learning is at. And it's sort of like 2 years prior to when they might actually start to go for this credential. There's these great checkpoints along the way, and the learning is ongoing. So if we just pop through to the next slide, this was my reflection when I started in the industry. So 40 years ago, nothing on this slide was part of my core learning in the industry. Everything that's here came along at a later date. Now, some of these were planned. I knew they were coming. I had time to learn them in great detail. I worked as part of a large team. Our corporate was able to, provide us with structured learning and opportunities along the way. But, I'll be honest, some of it was on the fly. So I've had, both experiences of ad hoc learning or planned learning. If we pop along to the next slide, what was impressive for me when I, became involved in the SQF practitioner credential was that there was this recognition that all of us have the same challenge. We learn on the fly. It's ad hoc. We don't necessarily have a plan. And I really love that they've pulled together as part of this credential, this professional development handbook. And it's an opportunity to think about not just what you know, but actually what don't you know and what do you need to know, and a chance to really just go through and prioritize your learning. So in this case, the next waypoint or check-in point after you've started, doing that assessment is this criteria for becoming a certified practitioner. If we hop on to the next slide. They didn't just say, here's the book, go learn some things. They actually provided tools to assist. And depending on the industry that you're in, we're seeing this in other industries as well, where if you're part of that community or part of that industry, there are these opportunities for you to identify and find the learning that you need, but also those tools to help you plan so that you know what it is you need to do next. Next slide. In this case, what I liked was it wasn't even just here are the courses that you need to do. It's like here's the knowledge that you need to have and the ways that you need to be able to apply it. If we look at that middle one there, so it's a lovely combination of self experience, reading books, going to formal courses. So it's that 80 sort of 2010 kind of concept for learning and development, and even right down to if you're on the job, here are some principles that you need to understand. So look for those opportunities on the job to learn and experience these particular things, because that will set you up well when you get that 2 years into your role and you're ready to do the next thing, which is the examination and become certified. If we look at the next slide. It didn't stop there. With the credential, once you were there and you've sat the exam and now, you've got that experience through planned guidance, now there's ongoing learning. And again, back to the professional development handbook, it's a journey, because they're recognizing that across your career, there's going to be constant change. There's going to need to be new things that you will learn, either because of the role that you're in or because of all these influences outside. We've got ISO standards and so on changing over these last few years, all of which are bringing new information in for the practitioners that are working in this area. Next slide. So the key takeout for us when we were talking was really just around the fact that currently there is a lot of change happening, and that change really isn't going to slow down anytime soon. And that as individuals, we need to own our learning path. So just take a moment here and amongst this expo and just recognize the value of your continuing professional development. Think about it. Have you got a plan? Are you prioritizing your learning? Have you got a way to check your progress? And then, like a plan actually, for just reviewing and updating your learning journey. So, really, a little bit different to the rest of the expo, but that was the conversation from Mike and I. And back to you, Mike.
Well, thank you, Wendy. That was an excellent job. I really appreciate you doing that for us, and I think that that does give an excellent overview of the CPD process for everyone out there. Obviously, it's an important part of the professional journey. It's an important part of what conformity assessment is all about today, and I think that it's a valid part of this expo that we're doing. So, thanks for doing that, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Of course. So if all of you watching this pre-recorded session, if you have questions that you'd like to address to Wendy, you can write us at info@exemplarglobal.org and we'll get them over to Wendy and she will, I'm sure, answer you very quickly. And before we close the session, I want to, of course, remind you that we have a lot of other really great presentations at this year's Expo. We encourage you to check them out. And of course, make sure you claim what else? Your CPD for this session as well as the others that we have available here at the Expo. So thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the Expo, and we will see you soon. So long.